Okay guys, as we know, I am obsessed with reading. I am obsessed with books, okay? I recently just got back into reading this year though, around, I think it was May, I want to say, is when I got into reading. And we've come so far. I've read quite a few books, and a lot of those books that I've read have been the hyped up books on BookTok, and I've read quite a few of those. So what I wanted to do today was give you my thoughts on some of the hyped up books on BookTok and whether they're worth it or not to read. In my opinion, disclaimer, these are my opinions. If you absolutely loved some of these books or if you hated some of these books, that's your opinion. Your opinion may be different from mine, and that's totally okay. We don't need to hate or argue about it or anything, okay? These are just my opinions, so take it with a grain of salt. I have my stack of books back there. I'm not going to give any spoilers. This is going to be spoiler free, but yeah, let's get into it. Okay, our first book is The Housemaid by Freida McFadden. Let me start off with saying that any book you read by Freida McFadden is most likely going to be worth it. This was the first book that I read by her, and I also read the second book, The Housemaid's Secret, which was just as good, and I finished this one even faster, if not better. But starting off with the first one, The Housemaid. Basically, we have Millie. She is the main character, and she is a maid, and she gets hired for this family who lives in a secluded town in this big, big mansion. She gets hired for this husband and this wife, and they have a daughter, I believe. And yeah, we kind of go from there. Things are weird. The wife, her name is Nina. She's kind of weird. She doesn't treat Millie very good. She's constantly making messes on purpose. She's constantly blaming Millie for stuff that happens, like with her daughter and whatever. And Andrew, which is the husband, and you could just tell that Andrew was like struggling, I guess. And just some crazy stuff happens. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars, and I definitely think this one is worth it. 100% worth the hype. I would also like to add in that the second one is also worth the hype, 100%. And then we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really cute. There definitely is some controversy behind this book though. A lot of people say that it is basically a mix of Love and Other Words and another book that I can't remember the name of, but they basically say that it's like a copycat. And I can definitely see that, but just looking at the book by itself, not comparing it to other books or anything like that, I would 100% think it's worth it. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. Like I said, it was really cute. It's a summer read, 100%. And the cover is just beautiful. Can we talk about that cover? It's so satisfying. The main character is Persephone. The other main character, his name is Sam. They had a fallout and they don't really talk anymore. And she ends up getting a call from Sam about something unfortunate, which means that she has to go back to like their summer town, back to the hotel or whatever it was. I don't really remember. And they end up running into each other and stuff happens. I would also like to include Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune as well. I feel like this one is also talked about a lot on BookTok. And personally, I don't think this one's worth the hype, unfortunately. The cover is also super pretty, if not even prettier than the other book, but this one's not worth the hype, I don't think. It's another summer read, not the same plot, but they're similar. They're definitely similar, but it's another summer read. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars, so I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It was good, but it was just like, didn't really like stick out to me. It was nothing special. I would recommend reading this one. I wouldn't say don't read it, because I think a lot of people probably would like this book, but I definitely have seen more negative reviews about it. It's just not anything special. So I don't think it's personally worth the hype, but I think that you should still give it a try. Next we have It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover, which is the sequel to It Ends With Us. I gave this one, when I read it, a 5 out of 5 stars. But I would change that and drop that to a 3 out of 5 stars personally. It just didn't stick out to me. When I read it, I do remember thinking that it was just the perfect ending, the perfect sequel to the first book, It Ends With Us. And I think I would still stand by that. And when I read it, I absolutely loved it. But when I think back on it now, I'd give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I would say that if you've read the first one, that you should definitely read this. I think you should read it. I think it was a good ending, a good sequel to the first one. I just don't think it's necessarily worth the hype, I guess. I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this one. Then we had the first book, It Ends With Us, and these are both by Colleen Hoover. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars, and I would stick to that rating. I would stick to 5 out of 5 stars. Beautiful cover, absolutely beautiful. This book got me back into reading, so I have to give this book and Ms. Colleen Hoover credit for that. I still stick to my 5-star rating. It got me back into reading. It started the whole reading journey. And it was really good. It was really good. But I would say 100% read your trigger warnings before reading this book. It's about Lily. She dreams to be a florist. She becomes a florist, hence the flowers, and hence her name being Lily. And she meets Ryle. And they get into a relationship. And stuff happens. Some really bad stuff happens. It's definitely not the picture of perfect romance, happy romance. There is abuse in here. There's a lot of triggering and negative things that happen in this book, so I would 100% read your trigger warnings before reading it. And if you're okay with those trigger warnings, I would recommend reading it. But I just don't agree with the fact that it's advertised as a romance. Because it's a romance, but it's also not a romance. Like, it's not a happy-go-lucky romance. This is a very... It's not dark in the terms of spicy. It's dark in the terms of abuse and stuff like that. So it's a romance, but I feel like it needs more explanation than that, than just romance, because most people, when they think of romance, they think like happy-go-lucky romance, not this. One thing that I did really like about this book is that she made sure to represent and show the other side of that. When somebody is in an abusive relationship, she recognized and helped the readers to see, for people who haven't been through that, she helped the readers to see why it's hard to leave, why it's not so easy to just leave that relationship, why it's so much harder, and what stands in your way and all of that. That really stuck with me. And like the last line of this book got my heart. Like when I read this, I wanted that tattooed on my body, and I think I would still get that tattooed on my body, because the representation that this book has means a lot to me. Interpret that how you will, but I think this one is worth the hype. Just please, for the love of God, read your trigger warnings. Okay, then we have November 9th by Colleen Hoover. I gave this one a 3 to 5 stars, and I did like it when I read the book. I think it is worth the hype. I have seen more positive reviews on this book than I have negative reviews. I think it's definitely worth the hype. Basically what the plot is about this couple who, they can't be together for certain reasons, and so they meet every year on November 9th at the same restaurant to catch up, talk, whatever, keep their friendship, their relationship going. And I do really like that plot. It was a very cute romance story. The plot was unique. I did really like it. It just wasn't anything special. Like, it didn't stick out, but it wasn't bad. I liked it. So I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. And a lot of people love this book. So I think this one is definitely worth the hype. I would recommend reading it. Yeah. Then we have Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. This book is so hyped up on TikTok. At least it used to be. I give this 4 to 5 stars when I read it. Granted, I read all of these books a while ago, the Colleen Hoover books at least, so when I read it at the time, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I think I would drop it to a 3, maybe a 3.5 or 3.75. Somewhere within that range, I would keep it. Somewhere between a 3 and a 4, I would put it. There's a lot of spice. There's a lot of spice in this book, so prepare yourself for that. I think that it is worth the hype. I would say that this one is worth the hype. There is a crap ton of spice. It's pretty much kind of like Friends with Benefits. That's actually literally what it is a Friends with Benefits type story / love triangle, I think, if I remember correctly. So I think it is worth the hype. It just isn't one of my favorites by hers. At the time when I read it, it was one of my favorites, but then I continued to read more of her books, and there are definitely ones better than this, but I think this one is worth the hype. A lot of people love this book. Then we have Love and Other Words by Christina Lauren. This gorgeous, beautiful cover. The old cover, like the orange one with the paper hearts, is really cute too. But I don't know if they sell that cover anymore. Anyways, I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. 5 out of 5 stars. Worth the hype 100%. This book is a masterpiece. It's so cute. This book made me cry. It made me cry with, like, if you've read it, like the stuff with her dad, just the dad scenes, and oh, I could cry thinking about it right now. It made me cry. It made me tear up. I'm not even gonna lie. And I'm not a crier. When I read, I don't really cry when I read that often. I've had a very, very, very select few books made my eyes water, made me shed a tear, made me cry a little bit. Very select few. And this book made me shed a little tear. Okay? That's just me personally. Yeah, but this book is so worth the hype. So worth the hype. I can't hype this book up enough. This book is about Elliot and Macy, I think. Yeah, Elliot and Macy, and just their relationship, basically, just going out throughout life, seeing their journey through life together, what they go through, the troubles they go through. We see stuff with her family, with her dad, with unfortunate passing away of certain people, and we just see them grow into adults, and we watch their lives as they grow into adults. I feel like I'm giving a horrible description of this book, but that's just the best way I can think to describe it right now. So, but ignore my description, okay? Just ignore my description. Just read the book. Go into it blindly, just read it. You'll not be disappointed. It's If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. I've seen a lot of positive reviews on this book, more so than negative reviews. And personally, I don't think this is worth the hype, literally whatsoever. I gave this a 2 out of 5 stars. And I would maybe give it lower, to be honest. I did not like it whatsoever. It's too long. It's too long. The writing is very much for younger audience, like younger audience, like how it's, the content, not so much, but how it's written is very much meant for younger audience, which is fine. Like, I read a lot of YA books, but this is like YA, like serious YA. And she just, the tiara that she wears, like, if you've read it, I was just cringing. Like, I hate to say it was cringing, but I was cringing. I couldn't do the writing. I hated the writing so much. I hated some of the stuff that was in it, some of the little details, like the tiara that she would wear as like a whole teenager. She was wearing a tiara. Yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. I feel like nothing happened. Basically, we're seeing these kids, this girl, and I think it's two guy best friends. We see their childhood, what happens in their childhood, and like throughout, I think it's middle school and then into high school, we see their life, basically, what they go through. That's basically what it is. That's the best description I can give, because that's basically what this book is. And a lot of people loved it. And a lot of people, oh my God, after I read this book and I went on TikTok, because as you do, after you finish a book, you gotta go on BookTok and watch the videos about it. So I did that. And everybody was like, oh my God, this book was heartbreaking, shattered my heart. And I was just like, I don't understand why. I don't understand why. Did not break my heart, did not shatter my heart, did not make me cry, did not make me feel anything, basically, besides that I hated this book. So, personally, I don't think it's worth the hype, but a lot of other people seem to think it's worth the hype. So maybe I would say read it, give it a chance, give it a shot. But if you actually love this book, each to their own, you know? Then we have Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. I gave this one a 3 out of 5 stars. I think it is worth the hype, but I don't think that it deserves to be as hyped up as it is. But I think it definitely deserves some hype. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was very cute. It's basically a hockey / ice skater romance. They're in college, these two, Anastasia and Nate. We're seeing their story, their romance come together. They're in college. They end up, basically what happens is Anastasia has this ice skating partner. They're preparing and training for a competition for the Olympics, I'm pretty sure, to get into the Olympics. And one thing leads to another, and Nate ends up having to partner with Anastasia to help her train, because he has to sit out of the hockey team for a specific reason. So he decides to just help her with her training, because Aaron, oh my God, if you read the book, can we talk about Aaron? Aaron is the epitome of a horrible person. He is horrible to her. He's just, you're gonna hate him. You're gonna hate him, okay? You will hate that guy. You will hate him. I think it was a really cute romance, a really cute hockey / ice skater romance, and I would recommend reading it. I do think it is worth the hype. I didn't love it. So I gave it a 3, you know? Last but not least, we're ending with Verity by Colleen Hoover. We're going off with a banger, okay? 5 out of 5 stars. Immediately, let me tell you, this is a 5 out of 5 stars, and it is 100% worth the hype. If this is the only book, I will say this till I die. If this is the only book you read by Colleen Hoover, that's amazing. That's perfect. This is all you need. This is all you need, really. You have to read this book. This book is insane. Insane. Literally insane. Lowen is, what it's about is Lowen's a writer, and she is struggling financially. She's struggling to pay her rent, to just keep up with everything, to keep her apartment. She's struggling. And all of a sudden, her publishers, like a company comes forward to her and is like, hey, we would like you to finish Verity's books, because Verity becomes ill and she can't finish some books that she's writing. So they reach out to Lowen to finish those books for Verity. And she ends up taking it. And Jeremy is Verity's wife. And Lowen ends up staying at their house for, I think it was a weekend or a week, something like that. That was what she was planning on staying for, so that she could get a feel and become familiar of Verity's writing about these books that are unfinished. And then she was gonna leave, go back home, write these books, whatever. That ends up not happening. Some stuff goes down, let me tell you. It gets crazy. Definitely read your trigger warnings. I would recommend reading your trigger warnings with this book. There are some sensitive topics discussed in here in terms of stuff with pregnancy and miscarriages. It's very gruesome. So I would definitely, if you're not about that, or maybe read a little bit about what happens and see if you'd be able to read the book. Read your trigger warnings, please. Please read your trigger warnings. But this book is so good. This is, I think, one of her best books, probably her best book that she's ever written. It's a thriller mystery. It's just top tier, 5-star, 100% worth the hype. You have to read it. Also, for people who have read it, let me know in the comments if you are team manuscript or team letter. I never read the bonus chapter that recently came out, so I don't know if that would sway my opinion or not. But just reading the book without the bonus chapter, I am personally team manuscript. I think that girl did it. Okay? But let me know in the comments if you're team letter or team manuscript. With that being said, that is some of the hyped up BookTok books that I have read, and my thoughts on them, whether I think they're worth the hype or whether I think they're not, or whether I think you should give them a shot or just don't. But I hope that you guys enjoyed. Welcome back to my channel again for my second video. And if you haven't seen my first video, go watch that. My first video was my August wrap up. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you for watching, and I love you. All my socials will be linked down below if you'd like to go stalk me on there while I'm not posting on YouTube. But I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.